This is Gary with Jolly Dolly, and I'm going to show you how to upgrade your Power Pro from lead acid batteries to a lithium battery pack. This video covers winch dollies, which have a total of 4 batteries. The first 3 are the drive batteries, which we're going to replace with the lithium pack, and the 4th battery is for the winch, and that's going to stay here. First step is going to be to lay the dolly down on its belly like this and make sure that it's turned off. You're going to remove the rear cover plate by first removing the Phillips screws that hold the plate on. Before you pull the plate off, locate the LED indicator lights on the rear panel and push them down into the dolly. Then when you lift it up, you'll be able to pull the LEDs clear and remove the cover plate. You want to remove all the battery terminal screws and disconnect the battery wires for the 3 drive batteries. You'll need an 8mm or 10mm socket for this. Be careful not to accidentally short out the batteries during this process. So we're not changing, this is the winch battery here, we're not going to be changing that, but if you were, you would take this off as well. You're going to remove the battery tie down bar using a 7/16 socket and ratchet. Once you get them loose, pull the bolts out, make sure to save all the washers. And you remove the battery tie down bar. One of these batteries, usually the one all the way to the left, is going to have a temperature sensor taped to it right here. We just need to peel that off and temporarily stick it right there. Once you get the batteries out, you're going to want to remove this battery charger because we're putting a different one in. You just need a screwdriver for this. You should be able to just hold your finger on the nut on the back and it'll come right off. If you need to use a wrench, it'll be 5/16 or 8mm. The second screw is kind of hidden in the back here, a little harder to get to. Once you get the 2 screws out, you start disconnecting these wires and go ahead and pull the charger out, and then you also want to get this AC wire out of here because that won't be needed either. We want to temporarily move the winch battery over the divider into the area where the other batteries were, just to give us some room to work. With the batteries out of the way, we can now get to and remove the screws that are holding the old battery wires to the motor controller. Now when we take the screw out, you're going to notice that it's got a split lock washer on there. It's very important that we save that and reuse it. When you take the black wire out, you're going to notice there's a second wire held down by the screw. It's this skinny wire here. That's for the battery indicator, and it's very important that we set that aside and put it back on there with the new wires. Next, we're going to connect this battery connector wire to the motor controller right here. All right, we're going to connect the black wire to the motor controller first. Here we have our screw, and you notice we have our split lock washer on there. It's very important that that washer be used. Now we're going to go through this ring terminal first, then we've also got to go through this ring terminal, which is for the battery indicator. That was on there before you took the dolly apart, so it's got to go back on there. If you forget it, your battery indicator won't work. When you tighten these down, you want to make sure that the ring terminal bends a little bit so that everything is fully seated. Your red wire goes on top, again making sure that you have your split lock washer on there. And you want to tighten these down extremely tight as you can get them without stripping the screw. Now we're going to put our winch battery back into its proper place. Insert the battery bracket into the dolly as shown, with the raised end on the top of the winch battery. Use the short bolt that came with your kit to fasten the low side to the dolly. Reuse one of your existing battery bolts to fasten down the high side by the winch battery. Tighten both sides down with a ratchet, but don't over tighten the bolt near the winch battery to avoid crushing it. Place the lithium battery in the dolly as shown, with the bottom of the battery butted up against the bottom of the cabinet. Install the battery tie-down bracket using the 2 long bolts that came with your kit. Be sure to utilize the washers. As you start to tighten these bolts,
Lift up on the battery and push it flush against the bottom of the cabinet. Tighten the bolts evenly left to right to avoid pinching one side of the battery. Do not over tighten these bolts or you will crush the battery. They should be just tight enough to hold the battery firmly in place. We're going to connect the Anderson connectors to give power to the dolly. Now we can go ahead and test the dolly by turning it on just to make sure that the battery indicator comes on. Then we want to turn it back off and continue the installation. Now we're going to hook up the charger. First, locate the AC plug. That's this that would normally plug up to the wall, and see if it's already connected to the charger. This is a removable wire, so we want to go ahead and connect this to the charger to get this ready to put in the dolly. Now we're going to set the charger on top of the battery and connect the wires. We're going to start with the DC connector, hooking that up to the battery. Then we're going to connect the AC connector to the splitter inside of the cabinet. You can also electrical tape these connections together for added security. Now it's time to figure out where to mount the charger. You could put it right here and tuck your wires in and close the cabinet and leave it like that. The only drawback is you won't be able to see the LED light, so you won't have confirmation of when it's charging and when it's fully charged. A better way to do this is to actually mount the charger to the inside of the rear cover plate for the dolly and have the LED visible through this viewing window right here. Now you can do this also, but you will have to drill this hole. We've included a template so you can figure out the location of the hole and also which way to mount the charger so that it won't interfere with anything inside the dolly. Take your cover plate so that the stickers are facing up. Then flip it around so that we're working on the other side. Make sure the two existing holes line up with the two holes on the template drawing. Place the template in the bottom right-hand corner and line the edges up. Use a punch and a hammer to mark the location to drill the hole. Drill the hole using either a step bit or at least a 3/8 inch regular bit. Clean up the hole to remove any burrs. The charger will be installed to line up with the template like this, but you need to flip everything over first so you can assure that the LED lines up with the viewing hole. Peel the double stick tape off, then hover the cover plate over the charger. Plugging the charger up to a wall will make the LED light more visible. Once it's lined up, press down on the cover plate to engage the sticky tape. When you're done, it should look like this, with the LED light clearly visible through the viewing hole. Before you reinstall your back panel, you want to reinstall the LED indicator for your winch charger. So make sure this black plastic clip is all the way seated. Turn your rear cover over, take your LED light, grab it by the wires and pinch it right where the wires connect to the LED, and then you're going to insert it into the clip like that, push it all the way down. Now when you flip it back over, you have your LED. If yours has an indicator, a battery indicator right here for the winch, you'll need to reconnect that wire as well. Before you close up the back of the dolly, you should go ahead and plug an extension cord into the charge port and check the LED lights on the back panel to make sure that both the drive battery and winch batteries are charging properly. As you go to lay the back panel onto the dolly, you want to make sure all your wires are tucked out of the way and that nothing comes disconnected as you lay it down. This should lay perfectly flat onto the cabinet of the dolly. If not, you probably have something pinched and you want to make sure to correct that before putting your screws in. Once you're sure there's no wires pinched, you can go ahead and start putting your screws back. The last step is going to be to reprogram your battery indicator for lithium batteries. Hold down the top button until a number pops up, then release, and single press top button until you get to number 1. Single press bottom button, a letter pops up. Single press top button till you get to F. Single press bottom button until a number pops up, and then single press top button until you get to 12, and then hold down bottom button when you're at F12. And then when you power back up, it should say F12. Done. That concludes the installation process. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns. We'll be more than happy to help you. Thanks, and have a jolly day.